Happy Friday once again, Big Orange Nation. This is Frank Rock. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel coming at you. Released earlier today, Tennessee basketball hosting a couple visitors, and now it's a few months away, but still wanted to get that out. A little bit of news for that. And yesterday I did part one, projecting the lineup for 2025. I just want to talk about the fielders and the batting order, the batting lineup, what I'm expecting, and I expect a lot of different things to change on that. Today, I want to get into the pitchers. And just off the top of my head, man, this pitching staff, from what I'm seeing, this pitching staff is going to be absolutely loaded next year. And there was a lot of questions about the pitching this year. They got it done, though. They found a way to get it done. To me, it's going to be much deeper. I don't know that as far as like top end, more talented or what have you, but there is a ton of talent. It is possible there is. And part of this is really not going to include who's possibly the most talented guy on the roster because he's coming off an injury. But, let's first get into who's gone. I'll start with the rotation. Chris Stamos, gone due to graduation. A.J. Causey, 5th-round pick of the Kansas City Royals. He will sign. He will not be back. Drew Beam, 3rd-round pick, Kansas City Royals. He'll sign and not be back. And then Xander Sechrist, he exhausted his eligibility as well. He was not drafted, surprisingly, but he did sign an undrafted free agent contract with the Minnesota Twins. Bullpen-wise, Kirby Connell, he is out of eligibility. I've not seen anything where he signed a contract, so I think you'll see him around the baseball team in some capacity next year. So you have Kirby Connell is gone. You have who else? Who am I forgetting here off the top of my head? I know Aaron Combs. How am I forgetting Aaron Combs? The guy who got the last out. Aaron Combs drafted 8th round by the Chicago White Sox. He will sign. He'll not be back. So that's your guys going due to graduation. Then you had Matthew Dallas transferred to Wake Forest. Derek Schaefer transferred to Arizona State. And then just looking through the roster here of guys, I'm not including like Wyatt. Of course, Wyatt Evans, guy, he was not even on the active roster this year, transferred out to South Carolina, couldn't keep himself out of the doghouse apparently. And so that's your departures. Now, there's only one baseball, and there's going to be a lot of arms. So let's talk about who's returning. Main returner for me, of course, Nate Snead. He'll be a junior next year. I'll talk about my expectations for him. Marcus Phillips will be back. I have high expectations for him. J.J. Garcia, a guy who threw more midweek this year, threw a little bit on the weekend earlier in the year in non-conference games, but he did come in against Evansville game 2 and threw that 9th inning, which enabled Tennessee to have a shot in the bottom. He kept them in that inning. He's had some potential throwing right now in the Coastal Plains League for the Forest City Owls. So you've got Brady Robertson, a midweek guy, Austin Hunley, a midweek guy, A.J. Russell. How do I not mention A.J. Russell? That's who I was talking about earlier with the injury. Had surgery June 11th. The timetable for him to where he should be able to throw is like 8 months. So that would be the 1st of February. But he's not just immediately going to pick the baseball up and be throwing, in the starting rotation or throwing games. All right. It's going to be a process. There's a process to it. They monitor, he throws, they monitor. It's going to be a bit of that. I think it will be around SEC time before he's ready. And I don't know that he starts the whole year, honestly, but he'll play a role at some point as long as the healing process goes good, as long as the rehab goes good. They got good news that it was a lesser surgery that was needed for the UCL. So my initial thing was I thought he was done for next year and probably Tennessee career done. But the fact that it was minor, or I say minor, I don't know that any arm injury is minor, but it was as minor as it could get as far as the surgery was in terms of what happened. So he will be back at some point, barring that everything goes well. And that'll be a shot in the arm for this staff if he comes back and is the same he is before. And most guys, when they come back, they will throw harder. So it's, how does he adjust to that along the way? Braden Sharp is another guy. He's a redshirt freshman. He was listed as an outfielder, left-handed pitcher. He is pitching, I think it's in the California League, if I'm not mistaken. I had him listed somewhere here, and I've lost it. I don't. He's pitching somewhere. Maybe I'm thinking of Cole Eaton, but Sharp is playing this summer. He's a guy. From what I've gathered, I think they're going to focus on pitching with him. So he'll be back. Where does he factor in here as well? Andrew Banky will play a big role. He was called upon some big moments this year. Dylan Loy is a guy I expect big things out of this year as well. Luke Payne was a freshman. He redshirted last year. He'll be back. And just looking through guys here on my list I didn't mention. Ashton Sulak is a dude I don't know a whole lot about off the top of my head. Dane Bjorn is another one. Hunter Sloop a couple years ago. He was ranked 75th in the nation coming in. I did see him pitch last week, actually, in the Appalachian League. He had a rough outing, but I've said it on a couple videos. Some guys I talked to who played with his team, they said he had some good stuff. I think Tennessee was up there actually to watch him, according to the dudes I talked to that night. Bryson Thacker's another guy coming back. He played for Greenville as well, but them guys were telling me Thacker evidently tore his UCL in like the second outing of the Appalachian League. So he had surgery, so I don't think you'll be able to be counting on him next year. Other than that, as far as current guys coming back, I'm trying to see if I missed anybody here. I mentioned Braid May, JJ Garcia. I don't think I missed anyone else. It's possible I could have, but then you have through the portal, they've added Liam Doyle from Ole Miss. So Liam Doyle last year, what stood out to me with him was he threw 55 innings, 84 strikeouts. Now, a little bit of an inflated ERA. Last year, he did have an ERA at 5.73, but he had some good outings. He had some. When he faced Tennessee, he went 6 innings, 4 runs, 3 earned, had 10 strikeouts against them. Later on in the year, now he kind of fluctuated. He was a little bit of erratic. It kind of seems like with his outings. Some really good, some not so good along the way. But I know Tennessee, from what I've read, is pretty excited to get him in the fold. And then Tennessee also gets Tanner Franklin. I've got to make sure I don't confuse them because there's 2 Tanners coming in. Tanner Franklin comes in from, let me find, I've got them all pulled up. He's coming in from Kennesaw State. So Jefferson City guy. So his last year with him, a lot of, let me find where he's at. A lot of his outings were out of the bullpen. His longest outing was 4 innings against Queens, where he had 11 strikeouts. So he's a guy who good strikeout numbers, 27 in the 3rd innings, 43 strikeouts. But I talked about this when they got him, when I analyzed him. The one concern, of course, he had a 5.60 ERA last year, but he had 27 walks in 27 in the 3rd inning. So that's almost a walk per inning. That's a little high. That's a little concerning, but it's something obviously Tennessee's aware of, and they feel they can fix that as well with him. So that's your 2 portal guys as far as pitchers go. Now, of course, you added Gavin Keelan, Andrew Fisher's in lineup. I talked about them yesterday and where I see them fitting in. Okay. I've not even gotten to the recruiting class yet, but Tennessee is adding 6 junior college guys. Of course, they signed Thomas Crabtree. It's not been too long ago, Pearl River Community College. So looking at his stats, so it looks to me like he was more of a starter last year. His outings ranged from anywhere from 4 innings up to later on in the year, he had a couple 7-inning starts, a few 6-inning starts as well. So the stats are not, they're more just by on that website. So he had 2.96 ERA, 76 innings. Looks like Sam from college. This dude, it's a website online here. Let me give him the credit he gets. College Baseball Central. He's a contributor. Looks like he does a lot of stuff for Vols. So he had a thread on there that he's actually pinned on his page with these. So he had Thomas Crabtree. Of course, like I said, he ranged anywhere from about 3 to 4 innings up to 7. And then you had with him as well, I lost my place with him down here. He was 105 strikeouts, 76 innings, 2.96 ERA. How does he factor in? Here's well, can he start? Will he be a relief guy? Fastball 90 to 93, has a good curveball. You also have Brandon Arvidsson, dude who just committed here recently, started out Texas A&M, transferred to San Jacinto Junior College, 108 strikeouts, 61 innings pitched this past season. Looking at his numbers now, he's listed as a guy who can start. He looks to me like more of a guy who will come in relief. His outings range, the most he went all year was 5 1/3 innings. So, yeah, he can start. They could go with that philosophy, guy, get you 4 or 5 innings and then turn it over to the bullpen because they're going to have so much depth. They can do that. But high strikeout guy, for sure. Like I said, 108 strikeouts, 61 innings, 3.84 ERA, a left-handed pitcher. He'll have a role for sure. It was believed he may have been a draft risk last week, but when he wasn't drafted high, I think he put his asking price out of reach based on what I'd read there. Another JUCO guy, they're getting Austin Breedlove coming from Cleveland State Community College. From what I see, he is according to Sam from College Baseball Central, 5-pitch mix. He was a starter based on what I'd seen here. So looking at his stats, he ranged anywhere from, he had multiple outings where he went 7 innings. Trying to see here as well. 7 was the most he went. ERA on the year for him, 4.39, 123 strikeouts in 82 innings. So this is a guy who could possibly start for Tennessee next year as well. You're looking at another guy, left-handed pitcher, Michael Sharman is one who, looking at his numbers, he was a starter, 93 and 2/3 innings, 3.36 ERA, 101 strikeouts on the season for Sharman. Now I'm looking at Arvidsson's numbers. Let me get back to Sharman here. So his outings ranged from 4 innings. He had quite a few. Here was once 3. His last 3 outings, he went 7 innings, 8 innings, 7 innings. Definitely capable of being a starter. Definitely capable of being that guy who comes in kind of like last year, and AJ Causey and Nate Snead, who come in and threw, multiple innings for them. He has that capability to come in and do either one of those. Tanner Wiggins is a guy who was believed to be a draft risk, and he did not sign. His numbers in JUCO last year was 19 appearances, 25 and 2/3 innings, 32 strikeouts, a 1.40 ERA, and he had 8 saves. He is most definitely a relief pitcher, a back-end type guy. I mean, he can throw multiple innings. There was multiple outings where he did throw 2 innings, but this was a guy believed to have possibly the top closer in junior college, could hit up to 98. I think this dude comes in, is going to be a difference maker for that bullpen next season. And then you have Aaron Combs' brother, Ryan Combs, who's coming in also. I think he's going to have to hit the weight room a little bit. I'll be honest on it, 6'3", 155. So, Tennessee will beef him up. But he had, looks like he was more of a starter in 2023 and more of a relief guy in 2024. So looking in 2024, he had, let's see here. The most I see that he went was 4 innings on the season. So he threw 27 1/3 innings. He had 30 strikeouts to 10 walks, 5.60 ERA. So that'll be a bullpen guy. Much like, Aaron Combs could go to, 3 or 4 innings if needed. Most of the time, a couple innings with Combs. Maybe an inning, maybe more. But, he did have a few numerous outings there. So you're adding these guys to the mix, along with the one I already mentioned. Of course, I mentioned Tanner Franklin. I mentioned Liam Doyle. And then let's get to the college guys coming in. And I'm gonna go down the line here, and I'm gonna go ahead and call this one right here. You guys know I'm pretty honest, and I hope this dude proves me wrong. The highest ranked guy according to Perfect Game is Anson Siebert, 35th. Now, he was drafted by Detroit in the 16th round. I've not heard for sure that he's coming to campus. I've seen the speculation is that he is. I think overall major league draft ranking was like 108, around 110, give or take. I got to think a guy coming out of high school, 16th round like that, you can go to college 2 or 3 years, get your draft stock up, because it does say with him, I want to look at his scouting here. I can't remember if he's 8. He's actually 18 at the time of draft, so he would be a 3-year guy if he comes in, as long as he sticks around. But it says long, uber projectable, 6'9" frame, easy released, outstanding underclass, sat 95 to 96. Tyler Glasnow comparison. I call like I see it here. I have a couple concerns here. And one of them being, apparently he dealt with some kind of an injury this year, one I've read on multiple places. But the biggest to me, and this may be the educator in me, the dude doesn't have his grades in order. He's still got work to do in the classroom to get eligible. What are we doing? The whole system, I don't know. There's accountability there, obviously, on him. But where's his support system at for him? A big time where they just focus that, hey, you're going to the draft, piss on school, or what was it? I've got to question that. I have to question that with the family. I've got to question that with the coaches. What are we looking out for? Were we just set on where we're going pro? We're not worrying about college. We're looking at college commitment, or what? The belief is he makes it to campus. I hope the talent is there. The talent is there. I've got questions about this, though. Does he come in and live up to this ranking? I can't question anything about his work ethic on the ball field or none of that. But the fact to me that your grades are not in order at this point, and I don't know all the story, all right? That's a red flag to me. That is a red flag. I just don't see it in this day and age. It's not that hard to pass school. All right, it's not that hard to pass school. I promise you, it's not. If you put the effort in, you're going to pass school. It is what it is. Like I said, I hope this guy comes in, lives up to the ranking, 3 years, does his thing, and then he's a high draft pick. I would love nothing more than that. But I do have my concerns on it. That to me is concerning. A big one that Tegan Coons, I've talked about him on here previously. I've talked about that with the draft breakdown. Him coming in 6'3", 177, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. He did not go to the draft. It was believed he was a significant draft risk. Where does he factor in? Is he a bullpen guy? Can he be a weekend starter? Can he be a midweek starter? I mean, that midweek, a lot of times they don't throw guys long innings. I mean, they especially didn't this last year. There was times they threw 9 guys in 9 innings this past season. Where does Tegan Coons fit in? His talent is unmistakable. Him coming to campus, he pitched for Team USA. He has a high ceiling here. I got to think he factors in somewhere in this pitching staff. Also looking at that. Now, again, I'm only looking at the pitchers out today. I'm not looking at fielders. I talked about those yesterday. Braden Krenzel, a guy who 81st out of Dublin, Ohio. Apparently his dad was Craig Krenzel, who played for Ohio State. I didn't know that, actually. So says he has low effort mechanics, a mid 3/4 arm slot, gets a big run and sink on a 91 to 94 mile per hour fastball, and potential, has a plus changeup. And so he is 18, so he'll be 3 years guy. Sounds to me like more, maybe, I don't know if as low as AJ Causey, but definitely that 3/4, that mid. Where does he fit in this? This seems to me a guy, let's see, here's a video. I'm not going to pull it up because it's behind a pane. He's definitely not as low as AJ Causey. It's a little, I'm trying to think who, he's got more of that. It's not down here. It's just more of here. So it's not near as low as AJ Causey. So where does he factor in? He does make it look effortless based on that pitching. Highly ranked guy, 81st. And you got to think these guys with Siebert, with Coons, with Krenzel coming in here. All these guys, the top guys over the last few years. I mean, Chase Burns was 17th. Matthew Dallas was right around 100. Hunter Sloop was 75th. We've not seen Hunter Sloop much right now for Tennessee. I mean, here's another guy, Tate Strickland, out of Powder Springs, Georgia, ranked 161. His scouting report on him, it doesn't even say, but he's, let's see, with him, they don't have one. He'll be a 3-year guy if he comes in. You've got Ryler Smart, left-hander out of Pearland, Texas. Aiden Hayes out of Morris, Illinois. I've seen some people are pretty high on him. There's not a scouting report on Perfect Game, but he ranks, like I said, 234th. Here, I could probably get some highlights. I am going to go through actually every guy coming in and doing individual videos. It's going to take some time to do it, but I feel it does justice. It'll bring justice to this channel in what I'm promoting and being the most thorough, in-depth, especially with high school recruiting. We can kind of look at a little bit what these guys do, look at some video, and analyze them as well. And then you have some guys, Andrew DeMont ranked 350th, Nick Abraham 409th out of Missouri, California, respectively. And Stratton Scott, a guy out of Farragut, according to Perfect Game, 500. But when they get to that point, they rank them at 500. Ton of talent coming in for this Tennessee roster. Ton of talent coming in at this pitching staff. My projection is going to go Nate Snead, Liam Doyle, Dylan Loy as your starters. That's going to be my 3 starters coming out of the gate. That's my weekend guys right here. Now, my back end of the you normally don't see multiple guys throw multiple role times on the weekend. Kirby Cannell was your exception rather than the norm. We would occasionally see Snead or Combs multiple times on the weekends, but not often. You definitely didn't see him all 3 days. You might have seen Cannell all 3. I can't remember if he went all 3, but he was a guy who could have thrown every single day, and it wouldn't have mattered with him. I look for Marcus Phillips to have a big role at the end of games as long as his control was good. His control's good. He's going to play a big role. I feel he and Tanner Wiggins will be your end-of-game guys. If Wiggins comes in, it's the JUCO guy who was arguably the top closer, according to what I've read. That'll be your guys who close it down. Both of them throwing high 90s. Andrew Banky's going to have a big role. His role will increase this year as well. I'm kind of looking for a guy like a J.J. Garcia. I'm looking for, possibly Brady Robertson, Austin Hundley. Where do those guys go? Do they increase their roles, or do some of these guys coming up past them? I think there's some guys that's probably going to be crap or get off the pot time for. Not that they've underperformed at this point. Hunter Sloop, for example, a couple years ago, 75th. He's still not really made a dent anywhere here. Some of these guys, man, with this talent that's coming in, if Tegan Coons is as advertised, if Braden Krenzel is as advertised coming in, you got to think these guys have a shot to come in and provide some depth. And Anson Siebert, if he gets everything going with injury, with his grades, if he's as good as advertised, does he come in and play a role? I'm going Snead, Liam Doyle, Dylan Loy. That's going to be my starters on the weekend. You never know on the week. I mean, Xander Sechrist did it for a couple years, was your normal week guy. Yeah, Mark McLaughlin, who did normal weekdays starting for a year or so, and then he transitioned to the bullpen, ended up getting drafted a couple years ago. These JUCO guys have got it. Could any of them, a Breedlove, a Thomas Crabtree, to one of these guys who, Michael Sharman, they've got to factor in somewhere with their starting, with their ability to go long distances. This staff's going to be loaded. And like I said, this is with little talk about A.J. Russell, just because we don't know what's going to be expected out of him, what he's going to be capable of doing. If it's back like 2022 when you had Chase Burns, Chase Dolander, Drew Beam rolling along, but then they put Blade Tidwell back into the rotation, it really kind of messed things up. I really think they mismanaged that, and that was threw some things off. That hurt some feelings. And one of those feelings was probably the guy who just signed for the biggest draft bonus in Chase Burns, actually. But that's a pretty solid start. Now, Loy is the one and Snead, I mean, it's not a given on this, but I think Snead transitions to the rotation. I know Tony Vitello talked last year about Snead wanted to pitch more. Liam Doyle starter for Ole Miss. I feel he comes in, transitions to that here in Knoxville as well. Lloyd, to me, looks like a guy who could possibly do it, but he could also be that guy who is kind of your middle dude to eat up some innings as well. I could see with his stuff, him being kind of a Kirby Cannell type, him and Banky, a Cannell type, maybe not as active, but guys who fill similar roles with what they do. It's really hard to project every single guy's role with so many JUCO guys coming in, but you normally bring those guys. Brandon Arvidsson, I don't think he's a starter, but I think he's a guy who will play a big role on here as well, especially him being a lefty, a high strikeout guy. They have so many options. I mean, the only position on this team I'm a little bit concerned about is outfield. It's just because you've got Inslee proven. I think Chapman takes the next step. After that, it's unproven. It's not going to surprise me to see a freshman like Jackson Walker come in and take an outfield spot. It's not going to surprise me to see, an Andrew Fisher get maybe moved out there. Or maybe Colby Backus takes that next step. I think the outfield has the biggest questions as far as who steps up. The infield's going to be loaded with talent. The catching unit is going to have talent. It's going to be, just Cannon Peoples run with it, or does one of these younger guys pass him up? It's going to be. Sky's the limit for this team next year. I really feel this pitching staff has the possibility to be better. I think there's a strong probability of it. The lineup, no. I said it yesterday. If somebody's out here saying next year's lineup's going to be better, they're crazy. There's just not. You're not going to have a top six like you did this past season. You're just not. You just had 5 guys taken in the top 4 rounds of the Major League Baseball draft, and 4 of them were in the top 2 rounds, were day 1 picks. And Kavaris Tears could have easily been up there as well, but he went 4th round. I don't know in that offense that you have 5 top 4 round guys. You have some guys who are talented, some good players. You don't have that high end of talent coming. You're going to have a very good offense. Don't get me wrong on that. But as far as what's going to be in the lineup, there's not the top end. Let's don't try to make unreasonable expectations for that offense next year. They'll be good. They'll be better than 23. They won't be 22 good, and they won't be 24 good as well. But this team, man, there's so much talent. If you haven't, check out the video from yesterday. And then, like I said, I'm going to try to hit a video on every single dude coming in, what they're bringing. And I'll try to hit something on how guys are doing in the summer leagues. There's so much content to do in so little time on baseball. I mean, I could go all night long on it, to be honest with you. So I'm recording it around 11:30. I'm going to set this for release around 4 o'clock. So that's when it's releasing today. Now, later on, membership tiers will be available this weekend. Depending on your tier, you can get early release videos. And when I start getting into a couple things I'm putting together, I'll probably do some member only video stuff as well later on. But, we'll see how it goes from there, how the membership stuff goes once it gets going. I hope you'll, I hope you'll go along with the membership process, continue to help build this channel and, delivering some of the best, definitely the best baseball content, in-depth, thorough that's out there. The only thing I'm missing, I don't have the insider knowledge. I do rely on other websites just like the rest of you for that. But as far as all this content here, it is original content. It is my own, just taking it, doing research on it as well. But enough of me rambling. Let's wrap this thing up. It's time to go throw some discs. Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. Make sure you hit that thumbs up if you like the content. Make sure you share this out to anybody that's baseball guy. They're looking for content. This is the place to come for it. There's nobody covering it like I am on YouTube. There's just not. And then, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Big things are coming. More football coverage is coming, but one guy trying to do a whole lot. It is a lot to do, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And, we'll keep on rolling with that. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Last but most certainly not least, go Vols.